Hey guys, I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Boom Shaka, as always, and in this video, I really wanted to speak to you guys about a really interesting topic. That was a lot of reallys. About triggers specifically. Triggers actually are something that's been fascinating to me for a little bit of time. Actually, I've been looking at it and studying it within myself and really been learning a lot from my own triggers. I read recently, well, not recently as well, but a long time ago as well. I think Eckhart Tolle said this, but he said something like, you cannot hate something in someone else if it is not already within you, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. And it's a very Buddhist concept as well. Buddhism says exactly the same thing. You know, if you hate something in your neighbor, look within yourself first before hating your neighbor, because it is probably present in you as well. I'll give you a quick example. I have always had this thing where I really don't like people who are miserly. I've always had this thing where it's like this pet peeve of mine. Like if you don't tip properly when you are at a restaurant, or if you're like nitpicking at every penny, at every cent when you're sharing a dinner with someone else, or things like that, they really irk me. They make me really angry. And if I'm on a date and someone's doing that, that date is over as soon as possible, right? Or if I'm friends with someone and they're doing that, I really don't think I can be friends with someone for too long if they display that kind of trait. And so recently, but about a year ago, I started looking into it for myself and started figuring out why. Why do I hate this trait so much? Is it within me as well? And I realized as I looked within myself, and it was a hard thing to look within myself because it's hard to be honest with yourself and tell yourself the reason you hate other people who are miserly is because you can be a miserly something as well sometimes. I was going to swear, but I'm not going to. So that was actually a revelation to me, not only because it was so painful, because I was like, oh God, really? I'm like that too? God, that's the reason I hate other people who are like that. And that really irked me. That really made me so angry with myself because I was like, oh shit, that's exactly who I am. How can I hate someone else for it, right? The important thing with this is that the next time someone was being miserly, who were like not tipping properly or doing something like that, it didn't trigger me anymore. And it was not one of those things where like my heart started squeezing and I started getting angry and I started getting red and I started getting flustered. Nothing like that. Because it was no longer a trigger for me. And it was no longer a trigger for me because I had already assimilated that shadow within myself. So let me explain a little bit what the process is. So you discover that something about you really is something that you dislike, you know. So when you're a child, perhaps you dislike the fact and I'm using me as an example. So perhaps when I was a child, I disliked the fact that someone else was being miserly. And I noticed that within myself as well, that I was being miserly. And so I hid that part of myself within myself deep, 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 deep down. And I made it a shadow. I know you probably heard of this term already. It's a shadow, which is probably like a black, slimy part of you that you hate, you despise, you hide away within yourself because you don't want to see that part of yourself because you think it's a terrible part of yourself. When in fact, actually, it can be both good and bad. As everything in this world, it can be both good and bad. It has good qualities and bad qualities, right? And so the good quality about being miserly is that you don't spend your money on shit and you're able to save up and you're able to live a really, really good life. The bad part about it, obviously, is that maybe you have fewer friends because you do fewer things with people because you are always trying to save money, or perhaps you're not a good tipper, so you get bad karma. I don't know, right? And so when you were a child, though, usually these kind of triggers or shadows develop when you're a child, when you are still learning and still growing. They can develop when you're an adult, obviously, as well. But mostly they start off when you're a child. So you notice something about someone else who was being miserly, perhaps your own parents, probably usually where it starts. And then you start hating that part of yourself because you realize you're like that as well, because you learned from your parents. That's fine. And then you put that part of yourself as a shadow within yourself. So you hide it deep, 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 deep down. You never want to see it again. It's an ugly part of you. You hate yourself for it. I can't believe I'm like this, blah, 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 right? What happens after that, which is the really interesting part, is that every time you see that quality, that shadow quality, in someone else, it starts triggering you. You start seeing it everywhere, and when you do see it, you get really angry, or you get really bitter, or you get jealous, or you get upset, you get flustered, you get frustrated. You get all these bodily emotions and sensations that make you feel so much, and you don't want to feel all those emotions, of course. So what you do is you bury that emotion deeper down, right? And you pretend like it's not something that's within you, it's something that's within them. They are the problem. You are not the problem, which is always not the case. It's always you, okay? Until and unless you actually pull that feeling out from the deep within you, you pull it out and you examine it. You put it in front of you, and you see it, and you look at it, and you examine it, and you analyze it, and you think to yourself, why do I feel this way about this? All of a sudden, once you re-assimilate yourself into that feeling, for example, for me, it was basically realizing, yes, I am miserly, and I think that's a good quality of mine, because I don't spend my money on shit. I don't go out and spend $400 on drinks on the weekend like my friends do, right? And so instead of hating that quality of mine, I love it now, because it gives me the opportunity to travel the way I do, to live the life that I do, to be the person that I am. As soon as I accepted that quality of mine, I can see it around me in other people and not hate them for it. And I can see them in other people and applaud them for it, perhaps even, right? That's when the trigger disappears. It is no longer a trigger for you. It's no longer a shadow, so it's not going to irk you anymore. It's not going to cause you pain. And then you go on with the process with some other trigger of yours. Perhaps when you see other people who are using their cell phone in a checkout line, you want to kill them. Well, why? Why do you think that way? Perhaps because they're being inconsiderate? Do you think that you are inconsiderate yourself? Is that a shadow of yours, perhaps, that you're dealing with by lashing out on other people? Maybe. It doesn't always have to be a trigger thing. Sometimes it's just the fact that you hate those people. Sometimes it can be a bigger thing. Sometimes it can be a shadow thing where you need to assimilate that shadow within yourself, right? The reason I wanted to do this video is because, as I said, I've been really kind of going in deep and looking at my own patterns of triggers and figuring out what is a trigger for me and why is it a trigger, and trying to assimilate all of these triggers back within myself. It's been one of my important things that I've been doing in 2018 and that I'm going to obviously keep on doing in 2019. I wanted to share this with you because I don't think it is possible for us to get rid of all triggers ever. I don't think that's possible. Even if you think of yourself as a very perfect being, there's going to be hundreds of triggers, well, not hundreds, but dozens of triggers probably that you have within yourself. And they're always developing anew, and there's always new stuff coming up for you, new shadows developing. So it's always a long lifetime process, which is why I love it so much, right? But I would really love it. I would really, really love it if you guys could do that for yourself. It doesn't have to be for all of your triggers, but think about one trigger that you guys have and try to assimilate it back into your body. Notice the reaction that your body has towards it. Notice how you feel after you're able to assimilate back into you. It's a really interesting process, and I found it to be really, really gratifying and really enlightening in a lot of ways. And I hope that with this process, I hope that you can as well kind of go through the process of enlightenment. Again, if you guys have any questions at all, please let me know. I'm always looking to share all these interesting details with you guys. If you guys have any other video suggestions, please let me know as well. And I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.